charts, diagrams, pie charts, tables. How do you take this information and put it in a way that gets a band 9? My name is Jeff. I was a speaking and writing examiner of 3 years for the IELTS test, and I want to go through an IELTS Task 1 essay with you. Want some more information about IELTS? Be sure to also check out our playlist for IELTS essays and other tasks, and also subscribe to the channel. We're going to be looking at this essay through a screen share, so let's get started. Here's our Task 1. Hello everyone. We're taking a look at a Task 1 prompt. This is for the academic writing, and you can see here we have a diagram, and our step says we have an office building before and after modernization. We have to summarize the information, selecting main features and making comparisons, and of course doing this in about 150 words. So we're going to be looking at a response to this prompt and talking about why we think it could get a good score on the IELTS test. We'll naturally be using the same categories as always for the test. Those would include task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. We're aiming again to try to get an 8 or a 9, ideally a 9 on all of these. So let's look at what that means for task achievement. Fully satisfies the requirements of the prompt and clearly presents a fully developed response. Other things that we'll want to keep in mind: you need to have an overview statement that kind of identifies the main trends. So we want to make sure we have an overview. It can go at the start or at the end, or possibly even in the middle, although it's much more common to find it at the start or end of your task. So let's take a look and see what we have. Zoom in a bit here. Okay, so the diagram shows an office building before and after renovations, which greatly increased the number of conference rooms, bathrooms, and parking. Great. So this would be our overview. This first sentence right here, I'll make it bold. This is our overview statement. Notice that it's not just rephrasing the prompt. Okay, so the prompt shows an office building before and after modernization. But here we talk about after renovations, and then we mention the specific things. Greatly increased number of conference rooms, bathrooms, and parking. Okay, so these are things that are not mentioned in the prompt. The only way you could make this sentence is by actually looking at the chart and noticing the differences. Other things we need for task achievement: we need to make sure we're listing all key features. So that means that in the first half of the picture on the left, I need to mention the storage, I need to mention the 2 plants, I need to mention the entrance, that little path, the bathroom, the second entrance, and the parking. I need to make sure all of those things are identified in at least one of the paragraphs. So let's make sure that they are. So let's see, the office contained only 4 major rooms. In the center was an open space. Okay, so we have the open space in the middle. Plants to the northeast and southeast. Northeast, great. Southeast, nice. So I have the plants. Cool. Let's identify that. An entrance located to the east with a small path. Okay, so we have the entrance and the path. So we'll mark that off. Next, southwest of that was another entrance, which had a parking lot. Southwest entrance, parking lot. Okay. Next, bathroom facilities located in the northwest corner. Bathrooms in the northwest corner. That works as well, so that's identified. Storage nearby along the north wall. Storage nearby on the north wall. That's mentioned as well. Single conference room, southern wall. Conference room, southern wall. Okay, so it looks like we're hitting all of the key features in that first half of the picture. Now we need to make sure we're doing the same thing in the next picture. Again, all key features need to be identified. So notice we have a larger parking lot. We have the same entrance. We have a new bathroom. More conference rooms. 2 more conference rooms. This plant's the same. 1 plant moved, so I need to mention that. Storage is the same. oh, we have a new parking area over here and a new path leading up to the entrance. Okay, so those are all the key things that I'm seeing. All of those need to be mentioned in our next paragraphs. Let's see. 2 additional conference rooms. Okay, like we said. So 2 additional means that we have the original and more. So we have a conference room here, conference room here. Did we mention their locations? One adjacent to the original. Okay. Another along the northern wall. So I'm really using these directions. I think that's helpful in a diagram like this. You know, north, west, south, east, making sure you use those. I think that can be helpful. So we mentioned where the 2 conference rooms are, one adjacent, one to the north. Okay. A second bathroom was added across from the first bathroom below the west entrance. Okay. So we mentioned that bathroom, note its location. Great. The parking lot was enlarged. We have a bigger parking lot, and we have a bigger parking lot. Great. So we mentioned the parking. The entrance to the east also gained its own lot. So we have another parking lot by the entrance. That's mentioned here as well. Great. The path had to be moved to the south. So we mentioned that additional path. Lastly, while the plant in the southeast corner did not move, the other plant shifted to the northwest corner. Okay, so we mentioned the plants as well. Great. So I believe we've mentioned all of the key differences, all the key features in this whole image. Let's just again review that task achievement category. We're meeting the requirements of the task. The task is asking us specifically to summarize the information, highlight the main features, and make comparisons. We're doing all of those things. Clearly developed response. This is a developed response. We start off with an overview to kind of summarize the general trend. One paragraph is focused on half the image. The other paragraph is focused on the second half. So I think we're doing well for that task achievement category. Let's take a look at our next category, coherence and cohesion. Use cohesion in such a way it attracts no attention, and then we need to manage our paragraphing. Well, I think we have the paragraphing, again, similar to what we mentioned. Each paragraph has a clear idea. One paragraph is for the left side, one paragraph is for the right side. That's the first thing I would suggest to you when you get your prompt and you have to answer your question. Decide how you want to organize your paragraphs. I thought it would work best here to do one paragraph for the left side, one paragraph for the right side. I think for a before and after like this is probably the simplest way. The other key thing, though, is again managing our cohesion between sentences and paragraphs. Okay. So we start off with originally. So we have our kind of signal word talking about the first picture. We're using other things like another to indicate additional, referencing things that we've already talked about. So we talked about the first entrance, then we say another entrance. Using also words like also to show that additional information is being given. Again, we see that in the next paragraph as well, to additional. The comma being followed by this, so this is giving information that's referring back to those conference rooms. Okay, and that's perfectly fine to do that. Again, was also added. Then lastly is indicating that this will be the last piece of information we're going. Okay, so I think you have enough going on here to kind of connect your sentences so that the flow is natural. You're referencing ideas that you've mentioned earlier in the essay, and these are all things that are important for task achievement. For coherence and cohesion. Next, lexical resource. Wide range of vocab, very natural, sophisticated lexical features, minor errors. Honestly, you can't make too many mistakes in terms of errors like spelling, word choice, and things like that. So let's just talk about some of the words that I think are really pushing this to get a higher score for the vocab. Okay. Let's see. So we switch over to renovations. Originally the prompt just mentions modernization updates. Okay, so we say renovations, so we're switching that up. In open space, I think works well. Leading up to something, so we kind of have a phrasal verb, whole phrase here. Entry instead of entrance, okay. Bathroom facilities, I like that. The only something of its kind, I think that's a good phrase here. Tacked on, meaning like added. Adjacent to, meaning next to. Enlarged, to make it bigger. To gain something, to gain a room, to gain a space. Okay, so those are some of the words that I think are helping to keep this task 1 at a higher vocabulary level. Task 1 at times can be difficult for vocabulary, so anytime you have a chance to use a word that's a little bit less common but appropriate, I really encourage you to try to do so. You only have about 150 words normally to get through this, so you want to try to get as much as you can added. Last thing that we're worried about is grammatical range and accuracy. Okay, so basically a wide range of structures, full flexibility, and very minor mistakes as you would expect. Okay, so what are some of the grammar things that we see going on? Office building. So we have clauses which greatly increased. Okay, so we have an adjective clause. You do want to use multiple clauses. Not every sentence though needs to be complex. Notice our very next sentence is actually a simple sentence, and that's okay. It's actually a nice strategy after you use a long, complicated, complex sentence to maybe use a simple sentence after it to give your reader a chance to breathe. This can also show a little bit of your style as a writer. I like starting off this sentence here. Southwest of that entry was another entry. So again, all of this being used as your subject. So using noun phrases to start off your subject instead of just using a single noun. And I think that's a good strategy that can help with your grammar score as well. That's also being paired with another adjective clause. Okay. We're using things like the passive voice. Okay, so again, we're demonstrating that we know not only different voices, but also different moods. Passive. And I like this descriptive phrase, the only space of its kind in the building. Okay. So again, this is really just an adjective phrase. It's not even a complete clause. Things like this tend to be less common for a lot of people taking the IELTS test, just using adjective phrases like this to give a little bit more information. Okay, so I would say experiment, try to use it. Again, you don't need a subject and a verb with an adjective phrase, but it can be helpful in providing extra information. Notice what's going on here. 2 additional conference rooms, one adjacent to the original and another along the northern wall. You can do this. This is a nice strategy here too. So you're saying, look, there's 2 rooms, and then you separate it with a comma, and then you describe each of them. One was this, another was this. Okay, I think that works well. A second bathroom is also added below west entrance. How about this next sentence? This next sentence has a series of clauses as well, which I think is interesting. Okay, so the parking lot was enlarged, independent clause, and the entrance to the east also gained its own lot. So again, we have another independent clause. Then we have a dependent clause, though the path had to be moved to the south. So a couple different clauses there. And then we're using while to show a contrast. While this one plant did not move, the other plant shifted. Okay, so there's a couple different grammar things going on here that I think are relatively advanced that can really help push up your grammar score. Not every sentence needs to be complex. You don't just want to have simple sentences though. And also don't be afraid to use things like adjective phrases or noun phrases. If you're not completely comfortable with using them, or you're not sure what a noun phrase or an adjective phrase is, I definitely encourage you to study them and practice using them before you take your IELTS test to get more comfortable, because they're very natural and very common in writing. Overall, these are the things that I think are helping to push this IELTS Task 1 to a higher band score, looking at around 8 or a 9. I think it can actually get a 9. I think it looks pretty good.